just picking up on this, the last video I made about body image and body schema. What I was talking about there, I was kind of referring to Shaun Gallagher's writings on the distinction between body image and body schema. And what I was saying there is that these two terms refer to quite different images, I guess, understandings of what a body is, and in terms of its ownership and perception of it, that kind of thing. What I was saying is that body image, and this is picking up from Gallagher, body image is derived from a kind of third-person perspective on what one's body is, and it treats it as a kind of object. It's to the extent it has a visual component, it's as if imagined from the outside, so it's what you would look like to somebody else, what you would sound like to somebody else, what another person's perspective might be on how you move, that kind of thing. So it treats the body as an object seen from the outside or experienced from the outside, possibly in a number of different sensory modalities. Body schema, as I say, is distinct from that in that it's the experience of the body from the inside, so it's kind of phenomenal or phenomenological experience of the body as represented through those sensory modalities from the inside, so to speak. So it's how your body feels on the inside, to the extent that it has a visual component. It's how your body looks from this perspective, this rather odd first-person perspective. And again, I've talked about Douglas Harding in relation to that. How one feels oneself to be moving. So it draws heavily on proprioceptive senses, on interoceptive understandings of how oneself is, and linking interoception and proprioception to perception, how the world appears around oneself. All of these things codify, I think, the body schema. And as I think I've mentioned, that has a kind of neurological representation in the various homunculi, neurological homunculi in the brain, like the Penrose homunculi and others. The key thing to take away from that, for me at least, is about who you are, or who I am, or what the self is in relation to that. Because I think clearly the self, you, are not your body image. That's almost by definition. I think if there are some kind of health issues associated with the assumption that you might be your body image, or with a too close association of oneself to one body image. Certainly I think there's some evidence from studies on eating disorders that people who have a body image which is incorrect, and as I say, body images can be correct or incorrect in a sense, that doesn't change the ontological status of it. But if you have a body image which is incorrect and which perceives your body from the outside as being enormously fat, for example, and you make the mistake of thinking that is actually who you are, regardless of its correctness or incorrectness, then you're more likely to indulge in some kind of eating disorder behaviour. And I'm sure there are other kind of syndromes which, or just ways of being actually, which come out of certain kind of body image relationships. So I don't think you are your body image. Well, I don't think there's much doubt about that at all. If you think of your body image, then there's a kind of category error going on there, I think. But in which case, to what extent are you your body schema? And this is something I've talked about before. In a sense, I think that has a lot of mileage in it, really. I think that to a large extent we are our body schemas on a kind of fundamental level. Certainly not on things like a historical level or a memory level. None of the things that have happened to me or that I've engaged in are kind of imprinted in my body in a literal way, I don't think. The memories aren't located in my body in a meaningful sense. So none of that kind of stuff, none of that kind of understanding of self is represented in the body schema. But the concept of self itself, if I can use that horrible phrase, the very concept of self, I think, is a derivative of body schema. And this is something I've talked about before in relation to Thomas Metzinger, because body schema, in addition to having those kind of sensory motor, somatosensory engagements, proprioceptive, interoceptive, exteroceptive engagements with the world, presumably also contains all that fine-grained, regular, stable, very strong wind coming up, presumably contains all that kind of information, which is ultimately of the body, biochemical, I suppose. Again, this is Damasio talks about this. And that must be part of the body schema as well. And that is, I think, a good candidate for being kind of core self, or at least provides the template for stability. That core self, the narrative self, the center of narrative gravity, all those kind of concepts attach themselves to. So we're certainly not, our body image is not ourself. Our body schema may have a relationship with our concept of self. That's where I think I'm going with that.